All right, after 40 tests and about 100 blocks of ballistic gel, we're finally ready to name a winner for the 9mm Ammo Quest. Ammo Quest was a search to find the best performing self-defense ammo from the modern 3-inch barrel pistol that a lot of people are carrying nowadays, 3-inch barrel 9mm. And the testing parameters were in accordance with the International Wound Ballistic Association, using genuine ballistic gelatin to test, looking for penetration depths of between 12 to 18 inches through gel, not through a body. I shouldn't even have to explain this, but a block of ballistic gel is not a body. And 9 inches of penetration in a body might go all the way through you. 9 inches of penetration in a block of ballistic gel means that the bullet is not powerful enough to rely on. You need 12 to 18 inches of penetration through gel in order for it to have sufficient power and ability to destroy and disrupt vital organs and bring a fight to the quickest stop possible. The parameters I'm looking for specifically are that I am looking for reliability, because number one is got to go bang. If it doesn't go bang, it doesn't go in my gun. It's got to fire every time. Second thing I'm looking for is consistency. Sometimes I've tested rounds that, one round will be fantastic and one round will be mediocre. I don't know which one I'm going to get if I'm ever in a defensive encounter. I want to be able to count on it and know that generally it's going to be able to do the job. So consistency is a big thing. Deep penetration. Closer to 18 inches we can get. 12 inches is the absolute bare minimum. If it doesn't hit 12, that doesn't mean it's going to bounce off somebody. It might still be effective in stopping a defensive encounter, but the standards were set in place for a reason, and they want to see at least 12 inches. And I've tested enough rounds that exceed 12 inches that there's no real reason to not insist on 12 inches. And finally, expansion. Once it's penetrated deep enough and done so consistently, then we want to see the bullet expand as large as it can be, because bigger holes bring about incapacitation sooner than smaller holes do. So that's what we're looking for. We tested about 40 rounds. Of all the rounds I tested, there were some that were such standouts that they move into what I call the winner's circle. If you're using any of these, you're good. It's great. Examples include the Gold Dot 124 plus P in the short barrel version or even in the regular barrel version. The Gold Dot 124 plus P was a tremendous performer. None of the other Gold Dots really held up to it like the 147. It wasn't nearly as good, but that 124 plus P was brilliant. Remington bonded Golden Saber. That's the only Golden Saber I tested that was a good performer, but the bonded one was a good performer. Winchester's Ranger T. There's a lot of good rounds. Basically, the rest of the winner's circle is made up of anything that's labeled HST. Federal's HST is just ridiculously good in 9mm. I tested 5 different varieties. Every one of them made it into the winner's circle. And the other one that really stood out, Winchester's Defend. But even though there were a lot of great rounds, there can only be one winner. So I decided that the 2 that were most worthy of the title, based on the testing I did, HST 124 grain standard pressure and the Winchester Defend 9mm 147 grain. These 2 were both just outstanding, incredibly consistent, very deep penetrators, very good loads. But I ran into a problem when trying to decide between these 2, because it turns out that when I did the first test on the HST, I was using the clear ballistics gelatin, which is not professional ordnance gelatin. It is not a proper substitute. At the time, I thought that it was good enough, but I really got bit in the butt on this test, because the bullets in real ballistic gelatin, they don't bounce back. But in this test, they did. That clear gel doesn't act like real ballistic gelatin does. It's a sort of close simulant, but it's not the same thing. And I do not rely on it for professional testing purposes. I don't think anybody really in the professional bullet testing industry relies on the clear stuff. We use the organic stuff, which is actually reconstituted pig skin. I mean, it's actually flesh. It's dried up pig flesh that you reconstitute into a gelatin. So when I tested the HSTs in the bare gel, I used this clear stuff, and the bullets bounced back, and so we didn't get accurate penetration figures. And so then I tried to use the Schwartz formula, which is a very good formula for calculating how deep a bullet would have gone, and we came up with about 15 inches. which was tremendous. But in thinking about it after the fact, there's a problem with that, which is the clear ballistic gelatin doesn't expand bullets to the same size as organic ballistic gelatin does. And so there's no way to know what the size of the bullet should have been had it been in organic gelatin. And if we get the size wrong, then we get the penetration depth wrong. And if we get the penetration depth wrong, then the whole test has to go out the window. So when we're at a spot where we're awarding the winner, I still think the 124 HST is an outstanding round. And I tested it through the Denim, and its performance was tremendous. But I think what we need to do, we need to have a shootout. We need to put these two face-to-face, head-to-head, same gun, same day, same temperature, same humidity, and the same gel block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot 3 rounds of HST and then 3 rounds of Winchester Defend all into a bare gelatin block. And then we're going to get a second block, cover it with the Denim, and do 3 rounds of HST and 3 rounds of Winchester Defend. That way we'll have the best head-to-head answer once and for all as how these two perform against each other. Okay, through the bare gel, we've got our results. A little bit different from when I used the clear ballistics gel. The organic ballistic gel, you know, it's not the exact same product as clear ballistics, and that's why I wanted to try them both in the exact same block, and we are seeing a difference here. I've cut the block down so that you can see all 6 bullets at a time, and you see the 3 that came in shorter are the HSTs, and the 3 that went further are the Winchester Defends. HSTs look like they definitely expanded bigger. Defends look like they're smaller, so it all makes sense. HSTs, we had very, very nice grouping, 1/2 inch from the shortest to the furthest, 11 3/4 for 2 bullets, and 12 1/4 for the 3rd bullet. I would not get hung up on that 11 3/4 because the difference we're seeing between the clear ballistics test and the real ballistic gel test is enough to say that, you know, it's 11 3/4 rounded off. Okay, it's good enough. It's going to meet the standards you're going to need for self-defense shooting. But the Defends went quite a bit further, and they're pretty darn consistent too. They're only a 1/2 inch spread from the shortest to the furthest. Shortest bullet being 13 1/2 inches. Then we had one at 13 3/4, and the furthest one came in at 14. That's outstanding performance. The HSTs is good performance. I mean, they basically, if I shift the block 1/4 of an inch and I squint the right way, maybe I could say they all hit 12 inches, the minimum we're looking for. But, you know, when you're shopping for defensive ammo, do you really want it to meet the absolute bare minimum? Or do you want to exceed the minimum? When you're taking a test in school, do you want to get a 61%, you know, a barely passing D, or would you rather get an A? I think the Winchesters definitely perform better here in terms of penetration depth, but the HSTs are fine, and I think the HSTs definitely expanded bigger. They're both turning in an excellent performance. I'd be happy with either. Let's see how they did through the Denim. First up on this side of the block, we can see 2 HSTs and 1 Defend. On the other side of the block, when we flip this over, we have 2 Defends and 1 HST. So let me lay out how they lined up. The HSTs ranged from 13 1/2 inches for the shortest bullet, 14 1/2 for the medium, and 15 3/4 for the furthest bullet. 15 3/4. That's really, really good. Winchester Defends, on the other hand, the shortest bullet was 14 3/4, middle one was 15 1/4, and the furthest bullet was 15 3/4. Now, a little bit interesting in that the HSTs, which have historically in my testing been a hallmark of consistency, were a little bit less consistent. The spread from shortest bullet to furthest bullet was 2 inches this time, whereas with the Winchester Defends, which were really consistent in my prior test, they were really consistent here too. There was only a 1 inch spread from shortest to furthest. The thing of note is that we had one HST that went to 13 1/2 inches, whereas the shortest Defend went to 14 3/4, so a full 1.25 inches deeper. Whereas on the furthest bullet, they both came in at 15 3/4. So you know, there's not that much you can read into a sample size of 3 bullets each. You know, if I'd shot 10 bullets, maybe the whole thing would reverse and the Winchester would have a longer spread than the HST. I can't know. You can't shoot that many bullets and have the test still be affordable. So within what we did, I think we can safely say they both did outstandingly well. And the first thing we can see, thing that leaps out to me, is HSTs are gorgeous and they're freaking huge. Look at the size of the shortest HST versus the size of the shortest Winchester Defend. It's not really a contest. The HST is a much bigger bullet. You can see that the HST scrunched down a lot more than the Winchester Defend did. And that's one thing I like about the Winchesters for multi-gun usage. If you're going to use these in a 3-inch barrel and a 4-inch and a 5 or 6-inch, it has a lot more room to really squish down, whereas the HST is kind of flattened where it is, and what you're going to probably end up with is not a lot more penetration from the bigger guns. But that's beyond the point. We're looking at 3-inch guns here. The bare bullets, which to be fair, is the less important test. The bare bullets, the HSTs are much bigger, and the Defends are still nice, expanded, very consistent. They did a great job. They're just nowhere near the size of the HSTs. Now, the Denim bullets are the more important test, even though, you know, 4 layers of denim is not a practical clothing simulation. That's not what it's meant to be. It's an engineering test designed to be a worst case scenario for the bullets. And what doctors and pathologists who've done autopsies have found is that a bullet pulled from a human body usually looks a lot more like a bullet pulled from denim covered gel than from bare gel. So first of all, this HST is notably bigger than the other two, and this is also one that penetrated the shortest of the HSTs, and that goes hand in hand. The bigger a bullet is, the more resistance it's going to put up in the gel, so that makes sense. But the Denim HSTs aren't nearly as big and as impressive as the bare gel HST. I mean, this one kind of is, but the others aren't that different from the Winchesters. I still think the Winchesters are smaller, but it's not a big difference. I mean, it's at that point in denim, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. The penetration was a little bit better for the Winchesters, but the Winchesters just, they're not as pretty. They don't make this wonderful star shape, and there's just something about the feeling of confidence that you have that, you know, I know an HST is going to do this every time. But when I see the Winchester looking, you know, a little ragged, I don't feel as good about that. But that's the thing. There's feelings, and then there's facts and science. And the facts are that the number one most important factor in bullet performance is penetration. After that, after you get sufficient penetration, then you want as big as an expansion as you can get. You don't want to get those backwards. You don't want a giant expanding bullet that doesn't penetrate deep enough. You need a deep penetrating bullet that then expands. And these penetrated notably, not tremendously, but notably more than the HSTs. So even though they're a little bit not as pretty as the HSTs are, and the bare bullets are not as big as the HSTs are, the Denim bullets, I think, did a fine job. Either one of them through the Denim, they were outstanding. I was a little disappointed that the HSTs just barely met the mark through the bare gel, but through the Denim, they were perfect. Both of them were perfect. So, easiest summary we can say here is, yeah, HSTs expand bigger than the Winchesters do, and the Winchesters penetrate deeper than the HSTs do. Okay, it's trophy time, and I gotta hand the trophy out to one of these two, and it's not as easy of a decision as I was hoping it would be. Because the HST is a crowd favorite, a perennial favorite. I love HSTs, and they're big, beautiful bullets, and that's great. And I tested 5 different flavors of HST, and they were all excellent. So it's got that going for it. The Winchester, on the other hand, did not make as big of bullets, and they weren't as pretty. But in its favor, they were deeper. They were consistent. They were consistently deeper, and they were still very big bullets. The Denim bullet size between the two of them was barely any difference, and that's the more important test. So evaluating it on an objective basis, I believe that the evidence is clear, and the winner is and has to be the Winchester Defend 147. A number of reasons why I like the Winchester Defend, besides the fact that it just performed well enough in a head-to-head test to win. First is it's a heavier bullet, 147 grain. Heavier bullets maintain momentum better, especially out of a short barrel gun. So momentum is what gives you the power to be able to smash through bones, or if it has to go through a windshield or something, that momentum is going to be a little stronger here, and it's going to carry a little further and a little better. The second thing I like about the Winchester is it has a matched training ammo that goes with it. So you can get a box of 50 for maybe 20 bucks. A lot more affordable than $1 a round like these two are. You buy these little 20-round boxes, these are $1 a round for these hollow points. But Winchester has a training ammo, which is the exact same shape, the exact same weight, the exact same powder charge, so you can use it to verify functionality in your gun without having to burn up a whole bunch of $1 a round, defend rounds. I also like the Winchester because if we're going to get 16 inches, 15 to 16 inches of penetration out of a 3-inch barrel gun, then when you move to a 4-inch or a 5-inch, that additional velocity will probably give you more expansion, not necessarily more penetration, but more expansion, and there's room for it to expand. So you'll probably still get very deep penetration and just bigger expansion from the bigger gun. So as one round that should serve well in all 9mm guns, I think the Winchester's it. I think that is a great design, performed fantastically, and it's good enough to win the 9mm ammo quest. Stay tuned to the channel. I've got more coming. I've got a complete .38 special ammo quest coming up from a 1 7/8 inch barrel little revolver, Ruger LCR. And we have a short barrel .45 ammo quest from the 3.3 inch barrel XDS from Springfield. So, like, subscribe, share, and thanks for watching.